Coming into the final round at Oran Park, Steve Owen has a 255-point lead over Dean Canto, but with 46 points separating second to fourth, the battle for the minors is set to be hotly contested. But Steve Owen, the Supercar Racing Commodore, starting from pole for the fourth time in 2008, putting himself right in the box seat for clinching this championship. $2,000 from Armour All for this round. And what's better than $2,000? Another $5 for clinching the most poles this year. It's the first time a Holden's been on pole for the Fujitsu series at this track since 2002.
Tricky conditions out there as well, because it's the last time we're using this track and there hasn't been a whole lot of love for the track, as you can imagine. So times are slow, but we're on pole by the biggest margin of the year, so that's always a good sign.
A handy margin, just over 4/10 the track, 12 turns. Jason Bhagwana's with me. Interesting layout.
One of the old school character-filled circuits. It's very sad to see it disappear, but a lot about flow, a lot about using your tyres over the weekend, getting the most out of it, and coming onto that long straight. It's a great circuit.
Really does have plenty of undulations. The only track with an overpass in Aussie motor racing. The car's on the warm-up lap for the first of two races to decide the championship, and Steve Owen will have Dean Canto alongside on the front row of the grid. Row 2, though, we have Shane Price, former runner-up in the Fujitsu series, filling in this weekend for Jay Verdnick.
Well, it really goes to show, doesn't it? The guys with the experience. I mean, Shane this year has been running in the main game. The experienced guys that have all had main game racing right at the front.
David Cedars on home test track soil will start from 6th. Mark McNally did a really great job too in qualifying. Brad Lowe starting 18th, his first start in the Fujitsu series, driving one of Matthew White's cars. And Andrew Fisher, the Wollongong Performance Commodore, repaired after Bathurst. Yeah,
big shun of Bathurst and obviously back on the grid. But this is really important here at Oran Park. You've got to watch the cars creeping down the hill. As Dean Canto gets a great start.
Great start from the outside of the front row of the grid. Dean Canto, the Howard Racing Falcon, and Dale Wood is tucking in for the right. He's squeezing across, and Steve Owen plays it conservative. Jack Perkins down the outside into turn 2.
Yeah, Steve Owen, he really wants that championship, doesn't he? I mean, he's just backed out of that. He's let the guys go through. He wants the points. He wants the crown.
Perkins defending the line. Shane Price tucked in behind with David Cedars. McNally, some contact there with Tim Slade in the Auto Pro Commodore.
It's a very narrow circuit at Oran Park. Certainly in the first lap of the race, there's a lot of rubbing and pushing and shoving. You just got to hope you don't bend steering and end up rubbing tyres on guards. There's a car off in the background.
Oh, there was a couple of cars off in the background. One of the Tag Motorsport Commodores looked to be involved there, but it's Canto leading the way. Dale Wood in the Greg Murphy Racing Commodore sits second at the moment.
Really, Dean's in a position now where if he can just get the head down and put some really clean laps together in the opening part of this race, the championship will take care of itself, and that's really what he has to do. He's just got to get those tyres up in temperature as Webb makes a pass through there on Cedars in the background.
And Jonathan Webb's flying. He qualified poorly, 11th in qualifying, but already he's on the charge. David Cedars, recently married in between rounds to his longtime partner Rochelle, is really on it this weekend. Oran Park is the Cedars boys' home test track, and it's really showing.
Yeah, obviously a few miles around the place. It's a very tricky circuit to get the car set up for. There's a bit of action going on back in the pack, but...
This is Andrew Fisher, and we talked about this car being repaired. He's just dinged it.
He's just look at this.
This is turn 12, Dean Canto. This is...
Oh, don't you love Oran Park?
How close do you run it to the wall?
Andrew Fisher had that big accident at Bathurst, and he's got that mirror tucked in there on Dean's car, as you can see. That's the one where he touched the wall, but Andrew Fisher, he bent the bonnet straight away when he first raced back.
Now, we're just hearing from pit lane that there is going to be a drive-through penalty issue to car 46. That's Dale Wood, the man who runs second for a jump start, so he will have to take a drive-through. It's Dean Canto leading the way, but Steve Owen on target for the Fujitsu Series crown. Andrew Fisher at Oran Park with a damaged Jesus Racing Commodore. This team spent between $40,000 and $50,000 to repair the ex-Paul Morris Commodore in time for this last round before their assault on next year's championship.
Down into third gear as you come onto the straight. One of the most daunting parts of any circuit around Australia as you come across the dogleg or the flip-flop, as a lot of people call it. It's a pretty long straight, but you've really got to get the car well set up in the braking area because it's very easy to lock that inside left front tyre as you're hard on the brakes. Back to third gear again, or whichever gear that was that Andrew picked then. squeeze the power on. Fourth gear. Very slow part of the circuit here, but it's all about setting the car up to really get that flow from this part of the circuit on. You run across the bridge, and it's a real rhythm as you go work your way back to the start of the start-finish line again.
Now, Andrew's come from the V8 Ute series where you have to be very delicate with the gearbox. In this car, though, you really need to force it.
You do. You've really got to be confident with the dog gearbox. He also is on slick racing tyres, which means he's got to really treat the tyre completely different to what you would. You can really punish these tyres a lot more, though Oran Park is very difficult on tyres. This is very exciting. Fourth gear. Right, the car starts to slide as you come down the hill. Look for the brake pedal, and you're facing the crowd back onto the start-finish line again. That's a good indication of what it does sound like in a V8 Supercar.
Now let's have a look at Dale Wood, second row of the grid. I didn't see him move, did you?
Geez, that was a bit rough. I saw the car move well and truly before the red light went out, but he did stop the car from what I saw. But it's a bit of a rough one, that one.
I reckon that's a bit tough. Sam Walter, his teammate here in the fight with Marcus Zukanovic in the No Fear Commodore, who has a lunge down at turn 12, locks a brake and gets into the side.
Yeah, when you're really going to go down the inside there, you've got to make that manoeuvre stick, because if you don't get there all the way, it's very hard to get the overlap down the straight, which Marcus has managed to get.
Sam Walter's car's been rebuilt from the rear window backwards after a crash at Bathurst. Zukanovic slips on through. He struggled for setup in qualifying, and just behind them is Brett Holdsworth in the TTM Commodore. This is the home test track for the Sydney Star team, and he has had a really great weekend. Season best qualifying of 12th spot and right in the mix in the top 10. Here's the replay.
Oh, don't you love that? Look, the thing about Oran Park is that you use every bit of road and bit of grass and bit of dust. I mean, it's a circuit that you can really have a bit of a crack. He's got that inside tyre locked. Hopefully he hasn't damaged that left front, and he can get on with the job.
And the left front is the one that's always vulnerable down at turn 1 and turn 2 as well.
It absolutely is. Sam Walter comes back at Zukanovic, and Holdsworth's getting on the action here as well. So Zukanovic's going to, he's just lost the one spot. So Holdsworth's pretty keen to get on with the job here. Interesting to see if Zukanovic has actually damaged that tyre.
Carl Reindler now joining in the second of the Howard Racing Falcons.
Setup is so critical here at Oran Park. You can see the car has a lot of attitude about it. And
there's a bit of attitude, some grass as well.
It's all happening, isn't it? But you use all the curbs, you use all the concrete. The car goes from left to right, the up, the down, the braking, the acceleration. I mean, you really work the V8 Supercar hard around here.
Now we're just hearing something from pit lane that really could have championship implications. Steve Owen, of course, needs to finish 20th or better in either this race or race 2, but from pit lane we're being told that he's got a car that's sounding rough, and it's running perhaps on 7 cylinders and is slowly but surely overheating. That could be a real drama.
Yeah, look, I was just looking at the lap times. We heard something go past the commentary box that didn't sound right. Looking at the lap times here, he's really slipping out to the 14s, 15s, 17s. It's not a good situation for him. Hopefully, he can hang in there and try and pull the championship off.
This is a bit further back in the pack. Zukanovic and Holdsworth. This is Brett's best run of the year. Gets down the inside, and Marcus has got, by the looks of things, that left front tyre has given way. He did lock it up a few times.
Yeah, that's all it takes, isn't it? You get that first spot on the tyre, it keeps finding that flat spot on the tyre when you're on the brake. So it continues to damage itself. It goes through the rubber, into the carcass of the tyre, and there you go. There's the end result, a flat tyre.
And now he just has to get out of the way, and it's difficult through here because the track is relatively narrow. The tyre's gone there. He just couldn't turn the right hand up. Brett Hobson goes on through in the second Sydney Star Commodore. Some new backing for that car from Australian Touring Services. Michael Trimble, the rookie, in pit lane in the Global Jet Commodore, and hearing that that's an overheating drama as well. So the warm temperature's really having an effect.
It's 37 degrees out here today at Oran Park, so the fans are sitting out in the sun, and when you're right in behind another race car, that really has an effect on the engine temperature.
Holdsworth closing in there on David Reynolds. Here is the fight between Jonathan Webb and Tim Slade. This is for 3rd and 4th. Slade went the wrong way in setup on his second set of tyres in qualifying. Started back in 9th.
It's so easy to do. I mean, you've got a little bit of roll centre or a bit of rebound adjustment, you adjust the front shock, and all of a sudden the car goes from being something that's quite nice that can be 3/10 outside the window, and it's so hard to get them back in.
Just behind these guys, Steve Owen, there he is. We just caught a quick flash of him. He's 5th. The car's still going. He's just got to keep going for another 2.5 laps and he'll be crowned the champ. But this is a really good fight here between Webb and Slade, who won the round at Wakefield Park. He's got good mate and Carrera Cup ace James Moffat on the headset for him this weekend. His housemate Jack Perkins is a little further down the road in a comfortable second spot, and Jack's really driving with tyre conservation in mind, because he barbecued 3 tyres in qualifying. You only get 8 for the races in qualifying, so he's down to 5 to do 2 races on.
Yeah, that's certainly going to hurt Jack over the course of the weekend. He really needs to pray for some rain so they can go on to some wet weather tyres. But it's obviously critical here at Oran Park. I mean, you really get the most out of your tyre for probably 2 or 3 laps, and then they start to drop off. Towards the end of the race, we see the time start sneaking away, and all these drivers are struggling with grip.
Seeing some good runs here. Mark McNally, the Western Australian, at the front of this queue. This is his best run of the year. A good test day at Winton recently, where they really worked on stiffening the rear of that car, a path that they haven't really gone down in the past before. That is out in front of this group, the 2005 Bathurst winning car that Mark Scaife and Todd Kelly took to the checkered flag that day. Carl Reindler here at the tail of the group. Holdsworth in the gap on Reynolds across the bridge. Oh, there's contact between the two. It's synchronised spinning.
Look out. Yeah, obviously David Reynolds had a little problem exiting the right-hander up to the bridge. Holdsworth shoved it in there, and looks like David's turned across the top of him. He was well and truly in there, so it was interesting to see that one from a different angle, but they've both come off pretty bad out of that.
Holdsworth hangs on to the spot from Bradlow. Next year, he'll be behind the wheel of Mark Winterbottom's current FPR car. Off the bridge, tap in the side. Lucky for the rest to get through.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, does it? And Walter does a great job to miss the spinning David Reynolds. He grabs a gear, away he goes again.
Yeah, Reynolds has struggled this weekend with turn-in oversteer, but that's not the sort of oversteer he was talking about.
No, that's severe oversteer, that one.
Dean Canto on his way home.
He's done the job, hasn't he? I mean, he's really just got the head down, tried to get his maximum points, and he's only half a lap away now from a checkered flag. Jack
Perkins, the Mack Trucks 500 Commodore. Very, very solid run from Jack. Qualified 5th. Has really started to come good in the last couple of rounds.
And he's got dual duties this weekend too.
Yeah, he's done a really great job. Dean Canto, though, has controlled the race. 2-round wins this year. 1 more race win in the bag for Dean Canto. Comfortable margin to Jack Perkins. And Canto can cruise. The fight for 3rd. Last turn, Tim Slade closing in on Jonathan Webb. But the SBR Falcon will make it to the line. And that's a really good recovery considering he started 11th. Here's Dale Wood. He's been on the fight back. Oh. Gives Damien Assailant a bit of a helping hand at turn 12.
I think that one's a little bit rude.
He might have to give that one back. He will cross the line, though, in 12th place after that drive-through penalty. So that's a really good recovery job. But Dean Canto, hey, hang on a second. He needs to use those tyres for race 2.
I'll be saving them.
Let's take a look at the results. Steve Owen is 5th. He is the champion. Mark McNally, a great run. And Brett Hobson worked his way through into the top 10 in the 2nd of the Sydney Star Cars. Shane Price rounding out the 20. He also received a drive-through penalty, so he was put a long way back in the order. Steve Owen, though, he is the champion, but it wasn't without its dramas.
It wasn't the way we wanted to end it, going on to 7 cylinders on lap 3 and having to drive around hoping the motor's not going to blow up. But, you know, the team deserve it, so I'm just glad the motor hung in there and we got to the end.
What's next for Steve Owen?
Well, I've just been getting that conversation at the press conference, and you're telling me if I don't end up in the main series next year, something's wrong, but I could have told him that already. I don't know. We'll go out tomorrow and we'll have a bit of fun and hopefully end up on the podium for Supercar again and end the year on a high note for Scott Losman Racing and for Paul Morris and those guys who have helped us out throughout the year. And hopefully if we can get something sorted in the off-season, we'll be back in the main series next year.